Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Sai. I work as a project coordinator with SeasonWatch. I'll give you a small introduction to SeasonWatch once we start the presentation. But I've been doing tree walks for about 6, 7 years now, and that was the first thing I could think of. If I can't do anything else in life, and at least lead tree walks. That was my backup plan of sort. But now it has become um, a tool to facilitate what I do for Season Watch. And it's been very, very rewarding. And I thought I really want to share what I've learned through these tree walks, through people who have gone for tree walks with anyone who likes to do the same. And today we have Suchi. Suchi, would you like to unmute and introduce yourself, please?
Hi everyone, my name is Suchi. I am a writer. I worked for about 20 years in the software industry. I studied engineering like so many people in India, and then I decided what I really want to do with my life. So for the last 1.5 to 2 years, I've been leading tree walks and a few bird watching tours. And I worked with an NGO called the Naturalist School, and I did a course called the Certified Nature Guide course. And that's what led to my new gig today. I was very reluctant to do my first tree walk. I thought I didn't know enough, and I didn't think it was my kind of thing. But then I saw the pictures from my tree walk, and I felt so good at the end of it that yeah, this is what I do now on weekends. All my weekends are full of tree walks, and I realized that this is what I want to do on a Sunday morning.
Amazing. Okay, so today what we're going to do is focus on the procedure that I have sort of followed myself and have also seen other people follow. So it might be a bit standardized procedure when you want to do a tree walk, conduct one of your own. And we won't be able to focus a lot on identifying trees or learning about trees, but there's a way to do that I'll share towards the end as well. So we will talk about identifying trees in another session, basically. But today, like I said, we'll focus on how the steps to follow, basically, and how to streamline the millions of thoughts and millions of things that we have to put together to get people in one place to look at trees. I have a presentation to make things easier and to channelize my own thoughts. I'm going to show that now and share it with you. And if you have any questions while this is being presented, please feel free to drop them in the chat box. We also have some time towards the end to address these questions. But please feel free to drop your thoughts and questions and comments and anything that you feel like sharing in the chat box. I just have some more people joining, I think. Uh, all right, cool. Yeah. So today's like first half of the session is going to be how to tree walk. But essentially we're calling this turning walk into wonder, and we're going to try, like direct all of our talks towards doing that. And in how to tree walk, I would like to share um, like the steps that we can follow and how to systematically think about doing a tree walk. But before that, there was a question that somebody had shared during the registration for this session that I want to do a successful tree walk. So I was very curious about this, and Suchi and I were wondering that we would like to know from you, what would you consider a successful tree walk? I'm not sure I still have an answer to this, but let's see how we think about it at this stage. So again, I mean, you can also unmute actually at this point. We can spend some 5 minutes doing this. And I would like to know from all of you, what is a successful tree walk to you? Suchi, do you have an answer? Maybe you can start.
Um, I think there are several ways of looking at it because sometimes you are satisfied after the walk, and sometimes the audience is satisfied, but maybe you're unhappy with I don't know, your energy. Sometimes in the morning, it's just hard to get that energy going. But I feel like at the end, if there is some increase in the level of connection to nature in whatever way that might be if the audience feels a little more interested, and if I think if they're staying back to ask you questions or messaging you later about books and resources, I think that is the simplest way to measure the success.
That's wonderful. Anybody else wants to go unmute and share your answer? You can instill more love for tree into the fellow workers. That's a nice answer, Devjit. Thank you.
Satish, I think to me a successful tree walk kind of would mean taking up some stories, like coming back home with some stories and sharing it with your family and friends.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. Vinay,
For
what's your...
me, this is Sarika. For me, the successful tree walk is like the audiences also learn something new, and I also take something new out of it.
Hmm,
Yeah, brilliant. Nice.
nice. Vinay, we can't hear you, sorry. Still not audible. Oh, okay. Anybody else wants to go? Bhageshwar Singh says if at the end of the walk the participants say that look at trees differently now. Yeah, yeah. I also feel very nice when that happens, and I would definitely count it as success of the walk. Any other answers? Successful walk is one where can evoke the same sense of wonder and awe that you have. Yeah, yeah, that's a good answer. Awesome. Any more ideas? Give it a minute, I think. It's very important to sort of understand this about ourselves because that's going to decide if we want to do more tree walks and how we feel about this whole venture. So I think setting that right would help us set our goals for the tree walk and decide how we look at them, what we want the end product to be, and well, just make ourselves feel good about the tree walk also that we lead.
I just want to say that I've not conducted a tree walk, but I've attended several. So
Mm-hmm.
what really I feel good after attending is when the person conducting the tree walks, is pretty well organized in terms of what trees are they going to cover
Mm.
and giving a little anecdote, a story behind the tree. So when you actually go back home and you wonder that, oh, I didn't know this tree is right here in my yard, and I didn't know that, it adds so much value to our lives, or there's something beautiful about that tree. So
Hmm.
if every walk was conducted in a certain way, where you, even if you just take 5 or 10 trees in a particular walk, and you have a little story or something attached to it, that makes it easier for the people attending the walk to relate to that tree.
Yeah, that's very nice, Preeta. Thank you for summarizing it. And for me also, I think a successful tree walk is one where I feel like I did my best. I feel like I could deliver everything that I wanted to about the place as well as the trees that we met. And I also find it easier to pat my own back after a tree walk if people ask questions. If people, you can see on their faces that they're actively listening and they actually felt engaged in what we were doing. So that would be the goal of a tree walk. It's of course to share stories, share information, but it's also to make you feel good about what you're trying to do and feel like the goal that you had in mind was actually achieved through that tree walk. So with that, I think, I mean, you can keep thinking about this and you can keep sharing your thoughts in the chat box still. Please feel free to use it as maybe a note keeper for all of us also to peek into for this while. But yeah, please feel free to jot in your thoughts and questions and queries and everything that comes to your mind while we're doing this discussion. So, very quickly about Season Watch, we're a citizen science and climate change awareness program. The project is based, like we have an office in Bangalore, but we have a 5 people team, all of which works from different parts of India. I'm based in Pune currently. And the goal of Season Watch as a project is to connect people with trees and motivate them to look at them every week and monitor the seasonal changes that they showcase. And through these monitoring and these observations, we're trying to understand how trees are changing in the face of climate change, or what is the climate change impact on the trees around us. And through that, we're trying to make nature trees more accessible to people, create a connection, understand climate change better in a very local context, and bring this all basically together for different age groups. So that's what we're doing. So along with training people to look at trees and collecting data through our Android application or the website, we're also connecting them with trees. And what better way to do that than tree walks, right? So we started doing tree walks 4 or 5 years ago since I joined. People were going on walks before that too, but it became more like a focus activity or something that we do very regularly or use as a regular tool for engagement. And we also realize that there are very few opportunities for people to go on tree walks. So we want more opportunities as well. And there are, of course, many people around us who really love trees, who know a lot about trees. And the idea is to help them curate an experience for more people to join in different cities in different parts of India. And then all of us can, do a lot of tree walks together. So that was my purpose behind setting up a whole network of people who do tree walks. It's called India Tree Walks Network. And I've been connected with a lot of wonderful people who feel a lot about trees, who know a lot about trees, and who also want to take other people with them in exploring trees and learning more about them. So that's all that Season Watch does. And I've been with it for the past 4 years and counting. And the reason we're doing this particular workshop now is because we have a tree festival coming up. So thrice a year, with every season, basically, we do a tree festival where we encourage people to observe as many trees as they can in a 10-day event. And these are like snapshots of what the trees are doing in that particular season and how they're changing. And it's also a competition, so we have a chance to reward people's efforts for this 1 or 3 times a year. So we have August Tree Festival, a winter or autumn tree festival coming up. And the idea of tree festival initially was just to get observations, but we also thought we could make it into a whole celebration. And we of course have some tree walks that anybody can do during these 10 days. And we also organize some webinars. This time we have a webinar on tree identification as well as an online nature journaling session. I personally love it, but I don't feel confident enough to do it myself yet. So we have another person from Delhi who will help us learn nature or tree journaling. So I'll be sharing all of this information as and when they're planned. But please keep these dates in mind, 21 to 30th of November. And if possible, do organize a tree walk on the 2 weekends that we get, or even the weekday if that's possible for you. And yeah, so with that prologue, I think we should jump right into how to start with looking at trees for conducting a tree walk. So this is sort of a roadmap that I was talking about in the outreach so much. Firstly, we set goals. It could be a general goal that I always have for all of my tree walks, or it could be event specific also. For example, the November tree walk is winter, so I want to talk about all the changes that happen in trees during winter, the migrating birds coming in. So maybe I can talk about birds and trees together and their interactions. It's also the Young Birders Month, if you have come across this term, and there's a lot of publicity happening for that as well. So I think if I do a tree walk this time, if I manage to, I would like to do a birds and trees session. So the goal can be an overarching goal for all of your tree walks, or it can also be specific to the event. So once we have this goal in place, then we can do a reconnaissance survey. Short is Reiki. And this Reiki then makes you familiar with the place that you will do a tree walk in, and the trees that you'll see there. Then once you have this basic information about what you'll encounter on your walk, then you do a preparation. Sorry, I'm supposed to change slides. And once, so how you prepare for these walks also, and what kind of information should you have beforehand. Next is outreach. Of course, you want more and more people to learn that we're doing this event, and how do we go about that. And lastly, about doing the actual tree walk. So, starting with goals, typically our goals could be inducing curiosity in people, that many a times people who join are actually curious about trees by default, but we could expand this curiosity, or we could channelize this towards newer aspects of trees. So, that curiosity for ourselves as well as participants is one major goal that we can consider for our tree walks. And this curiosity should also lead to appreciation of what we're saying. So if you're curious about why is a tree doing this, we might have or might not have an answer to that, but we can all discuss together about why is a tree doing this, what enables a tree to do a phenomena or showcase a phenomena that it is showcasing at the moment, and then having an appreciation for the trees. And many a times, many of you also shared that people ask about the uses of trees. So this appreciation could also be channelized towards trees as living organisms, as individuals, as biodiversity, and as standalone, basically living beings, as opposed to something that we can derive any value from. So, shifting that lens from a human centric approach to appreciating something, to appreciating it for just existing. And one thing that we discussed yesterday, Suchi and I, when we were preparing for this session, is that you could give an example of, if you talk about a bird, if you all notice a bird, you would never ask the question, what use is this bird? Or what use does this cat or a dog have to me? So why do we ask that about trees, right? So I think that's a like a funny or playful way of um, pointing out how we look at trees very differently from how we look at animals in general. So that appreciation again could be, it could lead to a change in perspective and changing lens of looking towards plants. Next is, of course, engagement. We're dedicating 2-3 hours of our lives to doing this session, and the organizer of the tree walk is doing much more than that. Like almost a month goes into planning and preparing and everything. So that engagement should also be very rewarding for all of us, and we want it to be fun for like the organizer, the resource person, as well as the people who are attending the walk. Next is, of course, stories. And the goal is to share stories, like some of you actually pointed in the chat box just now. But these stories also could be two ways. Like if you feel that you don't know enough about a tree, or if you have not come across much information, you could invite the stories from the participants as well. And these stories needn't be something that is universally accepted or noticed by some great people and documented scientifically. They could also be your childhood memories, or a story that once happened in my life when I was here or there, or and I mean, I like to look at tree walks as a place where we all talk about trees. So, creating that space or giving the chance to participants also to share their experiences and observations and stories is a great way of enabling that engagement as well. So, these stories can be personal, universal, mythological, social, ecological, anything, but having a story. Being a component of your session is a great goal to have. Next would be a connection. And one thing that I realized as I was doing tree walks repeatedly is that people feel very easy to connect with animals because they have organs like we do. Like they have eyes, they have hands, they have legs, they have other recognizable parts like wings, or their behavior is predictable, or we can understand what a bird might be feeling or what his intention is. But we can't do that with trees. So a little bit of anthropomorphizing the trees also, and their lives and their responses to the weather and environmental factors around them, that helps build that connection. So first step is to acknowledge that yes, they look very different and we don't know what's going on with them. But the next step is also to bring that curiosity that you're trying to create and build that connection with the trees then. And they also have abilities like showcasing some level of intelligence. They have an evolutionary history. They have ability to sense and grasp what's going on around them and respond to that. So some of these factors can build in that connection to trees, between people and trees, basically. And takeaways, so it could be stories, or it could be like a qualitative takeaway, or it could also be something tangible, like maybe a bingo card, a sheet where there are different elements that you saw during the walk. Or you could just put blank squares and you could ask people to draw what they like, or stick something that they like, or collect something that they like. And of course, we have to be very careful about what we're collecting. It can't be live specimens that we're just uprooting and taking home. Um, as far as possible, but these takeaways could take many forms, and you can be as creative as you can and as budget friendly as you can with these takeaways. But I think having a sheet that has list of trees that you're going to maybe talk about, so that the names are readable if they couldn't retain it while they heard it, or if the spellings were not clear when you mentioned it, and so on, then creating these small resources is very helpful. So all of these are some of the goals that I have in mind when I do walks, but they can of course vary for you, and not all of these can be achieved from every single walk that we do. So just choose what applies best. We can start with just one goal initially, of course, or a couple of goals initially when we're starting out, but you can add more and more elements to it, and then enrich your walks for yourself as well as the participants as you go ahead. Does this make sense to everyone? Does anybody want to add anything to the goals? Any goals that you have that may be different from the list that I just shared? You can unmute and speak. I don't think, like, we're a small team, so I think we can manage that. So, do you want to add anything to this if I missed anything?
No, this is perfect. I think in terms of connection, we also want people to feel like children again, because many of us have childhood experiences of being around trees. Even if you grew up in a city, like I grew up in all big cities, I didn't go home to a village for the holidays or anything like that. But I also have memories of being curious as a child about many things. So I think that's one way to get them to, pick up fallen leaves, touch the bark of a tree. And so it becomes not just an experience where they're coming and seeing something and hearing information, but they are also actively involved. It's more, it's a real physical experience.
Yeah, yeah, lovely. Shall we move ahead? Is everyone with me? Bageshwar has a comment. One of the goals I feel is also important is to inspire community action. Often got questions like, what can they do for the trees? Yeah. Would you like to elaborate on this, and how do you make sure that you inspire community action, Bageshwar?
Hi. So I often get the same question that what we can do for the trees, and I usually say just connect with the local organizations or connect with anyone who is working with the trees or for the trees, so that they can do something, like if they want to do like as simple as tree plantation or something more as understanding more about the trees, or maybe they want to study about them, or just connect with the people who are in the cities or with the local people.
Yeah, yeah. And also keeping that community together, maybe connecting through a WhatsApp group, or staying together also inspires community action, because then we're all together, we're all thinking about trees beyond the tree walk also. And that group can then inspire action and activism also to some extent. Just checking. Yeah, one of the takeaways could be share the locations of the trees, else people get lost when they come back alone. Yeah, yeah, that's also a good way of doing things. And one of the tree walks that I attended, they had a list of trees, the common name that they shared, one key point to identify it, and also where generally or crudely it's located in the park that we went to. So that sort of helps. Enabling people to come back to that place and explore on their own also. Yeah, that's nice. Awesome. Okay, so moving on to preparation. When we are preparing for a tree walk, we, of course, the location is very, very important. And then once we have the location, then we get familiar with the location, we choose a date and time that I still struggle with, honestly. But of course, you have to choose what's best for you and then hope it matches with other people who might be interested. And then next is letting people know that I'm doing this walk. I think this is something that I've also struggled a lot, and I still do. It's very easy to tell my friend is doing a tree walk, but it's very difficult to tell that I am doing a tree walk. Please come. But we'll tackle that also in this session. And knowing your audience, of course, because we are catering or we are curating this walk for the kind of people that are going to come for the walk. So that also becomes very important part of our preparation. So jumping right into location, location should be safe, very importantly, and not just for everyone basically. So it shouldn't have a lot of vehicles. It should have easy access. We should have checked with the security guards or the admin of that place if it's okay to bring people, etc. And once you have that, we could also check for an easy access. And if there are tickets, it's best to mention that when you publicize your walk. And another thing to ensure also is a good diversity of plants. So there should be at least 10 to 20 kinds of trees or plants in general that you find there that you feel comfortable with. And the location could also be like an easy walk place. So if it's a hike, though, it's best to mention that there'll be a short hike or it'll require this much time. One person in Bangalore who does tree walk, they actually mentioned that this is the length of track that we're going to walk, and it's going to take this many hours. And I'm not, I leave it. I don't want to fit it into time limit or distance very rigidly, because if people think we want to walk more, we all go on walking longer than we had planned to. So, but if you can decide the stretch that you want to walk and communicate it beforehand, nothing like it really works quite well. And about the date and time, weekends, of course, because of capitalism and the way world works, it's easiest to do these on weekends. It's also a good, like Suchi pointed out, it's a good way of spending our weekends as well. And early morning or early evening or late afternoons work really nicely because the light is gentle, the sun is a bit kind to us, and people are also more likely to feel fresh and receptive to the information and to spending time in nature. So this would be what I've learned from the walks that I've done so far. But if there's anything else about the location that Suchi would like to point out, especially in a city like Bangalore, where it's getting a bit more and more difficult to find a public park to do an event in, I think it's very essential to check all this background information and get permissions if at all required. Yeah, Suchi, please elaborate on that if you would like to.
So I first started doing tree walks in the area that I live in Indranagar, and so we also spoke to the residents association because if we are taking a group of people and pointing things out, and sometimes there are some very interesting trees in people's compounds, so we didn't want to arouse any suspicion. I think small things like that make a lot of difference. It also tells the residents that we are invested in their trees, right? Like in this area, we are putting some investment in into the concern that people will have, and then we can have locals join us as well. So that's one thing, and yeah, of course. In Bangalore, I think we have had different park administration and management sometimes enforce a lot of rules. That keeps going. I think just trying to explain to people that it is an educational initiative, and even though I mean I do charge for my walks, but the goal is not to make money, but to educate and inspire people, and that will improve the kind of people who come to the park. They'll be more concerned. They're not going to litter. So I think small things like that, knowing where you're going and doing all the due diligence makes a big difference, I think.
Thank you. Sorry. I was just asking if anybody else would like to add anything or have any questions about location and date and time or everything we've discussed so far.
I just feel that sometimes the walks can get really extended. When it's said it's a 1 hour, 2 hour walk, sometimes the person conducting the walk gets so carried away. The walk sometimes lasts for 4 hours instead of two.
Yeah.
So it's important to wind up within the time that has been mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. It's also a good idea to check in once in a while. So once we're halfway through the walk, I like to ask people, is everything good? Do you still have the energy? Do you want to take a break? And then you go with whatever maximum people say. And if you feel like taking a break mid walk, I think that's also a very good thing to do, because then you can't. I tend to do that. I get very excited and I keep talking for 3 hours and then I have a massive headache for the rest of the day. But it's good to check in with others as well as yourself. And like Preeta mentioned, it's good to keep to the time or mention in advance or when we start the work that I tend to maybe go half an hour over the time. And maybe if that's okay, if you want to leave, you can leave, and give suggestions like that that make people feel comfortable and prepared for what's to come. Right. Yeah, coming to Reiki or survey. Reiki is again short for reconnaissance survey, basically, where you just get to know about the location that you're doing a tree walk on and the trees that you're going to look at. So, first, most important is where are the entry and exit points for your location. If it's a garden, then it's best to take the GPS location of your entry and share that when people register for the walk so that we can meet exactly at the entry and it's easy for everybody to gather in one place and then start your walk. And of course exit also, and it also helps. Some people ask it beforehand, if we're going to take the same route to go back to exit from the place. In that case they can be mindful if they want to ask something or if they'll get a chance to ask that later. So that also should be maybe marked and for yourself of course, and also mentioned to your audiences. And then walk route also, maybe if it's possible. Some people I've seen, they make a little map of the garden that they're going to take a walk in. It can be hand drawn, it can be made into Canva, like whatever is the easiest way to do it. But some people do like to mention that this is the route that we're going to take. Or you can also just verbally tell that this is the route that we're going to follow. We're going to go back the same way. So maybe we can focus on one side of that path when you go forth, and when you come back, you can focus on the other side of the route, and that gives you like categorizes the place and the things to focus on in your own head when you do the walk. And when you do a Reiki, or when you go on your own or with a small group of people to help and support you during this survey, is that you can think of some questions and concepts that you want to introduce people to. And a very common or basic concept that I like to introduce when we're in cities, especially, is the idea of native and exotic and invasive plants. Because that's definitely something that people are likely to ask also, but it's also something for you to understand the place better through. So you make a note of how many trees there exist that are found in the geographical political boundary of India, or the plants that may be native to India but they're not found in this part of the country typically. Like there are some trees that are found in the northeast but they're beautiful, so they're planted in the city. So you can say they're native but they do not belong to this particular ecoregion or the kind of habitat that this place naturally has. And that's also a very useful information to share. And then, of course, there are exotic trees that come from other parts of the world but do not necessarily harm the local ecosystem or other biodiversity in the region. But there are invasives also, which are plants that are very full of life and they have a lot of vigor, and they tend to take over the place and compete or outcompete the local flora and then cause harm, and they become a bit dangerous for the environment. So you can introduce such concepts, and I think that itself, yes, like lantana, and that itself becomes a very nice baseline for planning your whole walk. And you can just elaborate on every tree based on these concepts, and discuss them, and discuss the pros and cons and etc. So that's just one idea of concept, but you can also introduce other things like initially we discussed how we can talk about birds and trees together, or communication in plants, or maybe the rate of growth of plants and so on. So you can be as creative as your experience allows, and you can read up more if you want. You can ask in the groups that you would be a part of, about what concept could I introduce, things like that. And you can also think of some questions that people could answer, or a question that you may know the answer to, but you want people to think about them on their own and maybe get some new perspectives on them, so on. So these 4 5 questions that also you can keep. For example, why do some trees have red leaves when they're young? Or why do some new leaves they come out as red or maroon or purple or whatever? So some of these questions you could keep handy, and think of them while you're doing the reiki, so that they can help you curate the stories that you want to tell. And requirements, for example, people should, I mean, it's a very good practice to allow or remind people to have caps, don't carry a lot of weight, keep some water with you, keep a light snack if required, and other things like maybe umbrellas if it's the season, so on. So you can mention what is required for the walk to make it comfortable and accessible for everyone. You could also share like wear comfortable boots, wear some mosquito repellent and something like that. So these requirements and thinking about them while you're doing the reiki of the location is very very helpful. Next is there are multiple points that will come on this side of the presentation, so please keep an eye here. And first is outreach, where we create a poster because that's the most attractive and efficient way of giving all of your information. Like there's a tree walk which is happening in Pune. It's best to mention the city because I myself get pretty frustrated when I have to publicize a walk, but I have to Google the name of the garden that they've mentioned without mentioning the city. So it's best, I think, to mention the city on your poster so that people, in the first glance, they know that ये Bangalore में हो रहा है, and if I'm not in Bangalore, then it's not for me. So that leads to little lesser disappointment, I feel. So yeah, so it's a tree walk. It's happening in Pune. This is the location, the date and time, and there's an entry ticket, whatever. So all of this information is communicated in one glance, and then we also tell where we're starting, and you can give a QR code or the link directly, some contact numbers to access you basically if they have any questions or any cancellations, etc. So this is another poster that Suchi has made and used for her walk. So just putting out some examples there. And we can just keep one format and keep changing the photos, keep changing the information, and that one template is very useful. We have some templates that we can share with you if you're doing a walk. Just write to me if you want to access them, and I can share the link with you. Next is once you have the poster, you want to also put how people can register for the walk. So there are 2 ways to do that. One is a WhatsApp group. So just put the link to the WhatsApp group like I've done here directly on the poster. So people just scan it and join the group. And it becomes very easy because then you don't have to ensure that everybody who's joining is getting all the communication, etc. But the downside is you can't get more information about people. Like you don't know their age group, what is their background, what do they expect from the walk, unless you put that as a questionnaire in the group. So you'll have to invest some energy and time into understanding your audience through the WhatsApp group. But it's also very, very easy to just get people to register for your walk, and you know exactly how many people to expect. Another way, of course, is a Google form, which takes more, there's one E missing, but it takes a little bit more effort because you have to make the form. But there are, of course, templates for that as well, and I can share that with you too. And that can be customized, so you can get any kind of information from people, like what do they expect from the walk, have they attended walks before, have they been to this particular location before, how well do you think you know trees, like that could be one of your questions, and people can say I think I know trees very well. And depending on what is the maximum response that you get through the form, sorry, you can decide how to curate it. It can be a basic one if there are many newbies to the walk, or you can go a little bit more advanced level information, or give more information and get like prepare like more rigorously for your work if there are many people who know the trees or who have been to that location before, for example. So Google Form allows you to get all this information about people and then make it easy for you to prepare and understand your audience in advance. And then, of course, once you have all of this together, it's nice to send them a confirmation text or email. So if you are gathering mobile numbers, sometimes people may not be comfortable with giving your mobile numbers, so you can just drop them an email, or you can ask it separately or privately to send a contact number. So any way that they have reached out to you and you have reached out to your audiences, it's best to give a confirmation and a reminder email. So that can have information like you registered for this walk, it's happening tomorrow, and anything else like there's a forecast of rainfall, for example, and please keep umbrellas ready with you, or we may have to cancel if there's too much rain, something like that. So anything that is required for people to know before they come for the walk, that can be in this text or email. And a feedback form is great, especially when you're just starting out, and that helps you understand how it was perceived. Did your feeling of the tree walk and the people, how they felt about the tree walk match, and so on, and then how do we prepare better or differently for the next tree walk. And use social media. I mean, I think a lot of people learn a lot of events from social media these days. So how do you publicize the walk is through social media. And one way is to tag Season Watch, or you send it to me on WhatsApp and I can forward it on Season Watch's Instagram handle or Facebook or LinkedIn, wherever you're comfortable sharing it. And then that's how we can get people who are living in that city, in that locality, to join your walk. And also let other people know that you're doing this walk. So if at all they want to collaborate or invite you for future walks, that can be done too. So it's a good way of networking in multiple ways. And again, when we come to the audience, now we have enough information, if we, especially if we did a Google form. So what we can learn is what age group is most prevalent in the audience that we're expecting tomorrow. You can also mention the age group. For example, if you're catering or you're planning this tree walk for children especially, then you can just mention that the age group is say 12 to 16 or 12 to 18. Or if you want it to be for only adults, then it can be 18 plus or 20 plus, whatever feels comfortable to you. And you can also ask beforehand if adults are bringing their children along. And if they are, then you can also mention this in your communication, in the reminder message, etc., that this is meant for adults. If your child is joining, make sure, I'll try my best to include them also, but it might not be possible every time. And yeah, so based on what you learn, that what is the level of the audiences, what do they accept from the walk, then you of course prepare accordingly. Next is free walks with children, which is something that I also don't have a lot of experience with. But what I've found, it's best to have separate walks for children if you're planning for that. And if there are many parents and their children, then you can just divide, if you have the liberty to do that, the luxury actually, if there are two resource people, for example, or if you already see beforehand that this like a lot of children are coming for your walk, then you can request somebody else to come with you, and you can make two groups. And this has been done for the walks that we do with Ecological Society in Pune. So they have one group which are adults without children, one is parent plus children, and that parent plus children walk then becomes for children, because then parents are very happy if the children are learning through the walk, and they may ask questions, but then they know that this is directed towards the children. So the facilitation is very, very different for the children and adults, so you have to plan accordingly, and it has to be communicated also, because people can't expect their children to be included in a walk that is catered for adults. So it's good to be clear in communication. When we're doing it with children, of course, it has to be very easy, basic, and the content or the amount of information that you give during the walk has to be very, very less. And if possible, if you know what standard children are joining, then you could also look in the textbooks that they follow, if it's NCRT or even state board textbooks, as to what they're learning about plants. And that has really helped me. So, and accordingly, you can curate your information and decide the level, and then you know that they have learned about reproduction in plants, for example, then you can talk about flowers and fruits and how they're formed and so on. So if you have set an age group for your walk and it's children, then looking into their curriculum, or even when you gather together asking what they've learned in their curriculum about trees, is also a very good engaging activity. And when you have children, then it becomes even more important to have some engaging activities. And nature bingo, I have seen that works excellent. You can just make groups and give them one sheet which has random objects, either drawn or written, and then you just ask children to find them. And nature journaling is another activity that you can do with children. And another really nice way of combining collecting what they find interesting. So you can go on a walk, you can ask them to pick up fallen leaves, fallen fruits, anything that they find interesting, and then you can sit together towards the end and draw about it and talk about it. And you can also, since you know what trees you're going to encounter on your walk, you can just make a simple quiz of maybe 5-10 questions and ask that in the end. And if it's possible, you can just have some candies or chocolates or bookmarks or anything that is good and attractive enough as a prize for whoever answers most questions. So these are some things that I've tried out. And having magnifying glasses with you, and if binoculars, if it's not too risky for you to carry it with you, then they become really nice tools for the children to engage. Firstly, they're using something new, so they already are interested and everybody wants to get their hands on it. And can become a bit chaotic, but I mean, if you learn to be patient with that and handle that a little bit, it becomes a very nice way of engaging with children. And Suchi, would you like to add anything about doing walks with children?
I also don't have too much experience, but I did an event last year, and I think one good thing is children are always curious and they always have questions, and they're a little more into the physical experience of it than adults are. So I think you can capitalize on that very well. One thing I've found, like learned through the internet, of course, is to help children make these nature bracelets. So you take like a masking tape and you put it on their wrist, and they can keep sticking leaves and flowers on it, and that's really fun, and it's actually very beautiful activity to do. So I think that is one thing. Also making sure that they are careful, because children will climb everywhere, they will jump off things. I think very important to keep that in mind while working with kids.
Yeah. Safety becomes like another layer to be very careful with when you have children attending a walk. And yeah, I mean, some bird walks that Early Bird organizes, they have one parent with the child. So they are responsible
Yeah,
for taking care of the child and taking care of their safety. That's
yeah.
also a good idea to go ahead with. And I'm sorry, I think this is all we can provide, but when we have more experience, we can keep talking about doing walks with children. And if you have particular questions, we'll talk about them in a bit. Yeah, so coming to some good practices, I think so far we've discussed how to keep goals for your walk, how to select a location, date and time for your walk, how to look at the location and prepare yourself for the tree walk, and then how to get people to attend your walk. And some good practices that we put together is the information that you share, please make sure that it's verified. If it's not, you can just mention that I've heard this from somewhere. I'm not sure if it's true, but this is what I've learned. And then you can share that information so that it's like people know that it's not uh, coming from like it's just out there, that it's not scientific information necessarily, but you can still share information with this disclaimer. Second is binocular magnifying glass and a box or a tray that you can keep things that you've found to display very easily or to carry them with very easily is a very great idea. I was telling Suchi how I keep forgetting to keep a box or a tray, but I've managed to remember to take magnifying glasses, and it really is a game changer. It makes things a lot of fun, especially when you find flowers and you're looking into their paths, etc., and you're talking about them, or you're looking at barks, for example. It's a very nice thing. So anything that allows people to look deeply, look closely, that is very helpful for the walk. Make it relatable to your audience. So we've talked extensively about how we want to understand what kind of people, what level of people are attending our walk. And it's nice to then keep your content relatable to it. Now, this is a little tricky because it takes a bit of time to an experience and trying it out to understand what people would find relatable. Like I've realized that when you do a walk, you keep scanning people's faces to see if they're finding the information that you're sharing useful, right? And it takes a bit of like time to make sure that you're sharing what is interesting to your audience. And it's okay to fail or to share too much information initially, or sometimes it might fall flat, but it's completely okay. Please be very kind to yourself and remind yourself that we're all learning and people are extremely complicated. It's not possible to have an A1 tree walk every time. It's a reminder for me as well. But yeah, try to keep the information as easy and as basic and followable as possible for the kind of audience that you have on your walk on that particular event. Interactive, inclusive, and safe. So make sure that we are not sharing information that might hurt sentiments, that might go very against what people might typically believe. And we also don't want to be biased against certain group of people. So that, and sometimes a little bit of safe controversy, it helps people loosen up a bit because everybody feels very scared to be politically correct all the time these days. But if you're able to crack a joke that's not very very safe, again it takes a bit of trial and error to ensure that you're doing this in the right limits. But it's okay. But like as long as we are keeping it safe and we're making people feel safe and included in the session, I think it goes great. Next is using the feedback. So if we are giving out a feedback form, so if we are formally gathering feedback, then it becomes very easy to keep track of what people thought and said about your walk. But you can also get informal feedback, like ask somebody who might be a friend on the walk to like encourage them to share freely and honestly what they felt, and then keep that in mind for the next tree walks that we may do. And I find feedback very scary, and it's very natural to feel like that. But please remember that we're all learning and trying to get better in doing our tree walks. So it's completely okay to make mistakes or to see that something failed that you tried today. But it's just like science experiments. It might fail, it might work, we don't know. But yeah, please be very gentle and kind to yourself in this whole process. And remember that you are also human. You're not perfect. You're not expected to be perfect. So use the feedback to sort of encourage yourself and feel like you can prepare better or do things differently in the next walk. And it's also very helpful to note your experience, especially something that didn't work out. I'm a self-critic like that, so I especially note things that did not work out. But make sure you write everything. Maybe what worked for you, also what didn't work for you, also what felt good, something funny that happened, something new that somebody shared with you. All of these experiences, they can help enrich the next walk that we may do. And some things to not do are, of course, don't make don't make people feel or yourself also feel that you can't talk when somebody else is talking. Like if somebody asks a question and talking over you, then maybe just say, I'll get back to you in a minute, and then make sure that you remember to get back to them. So like I said, for the tree walks for me is a space for everybody to talk about the experiences and stories and everything they've maybe bottled up for all these years. And I want to talk about it, but I don't know who to talk about, and this is the space to talk about it. So make sure like it's nice to remember that everybody comes with their own set of experiences and some level of expertise also for that matter. So creating that space for everyone to talk and not shutting anybody out would be definitely something that goes into bad practices or something not to do. Suchi, would you think of anything else that we shouldn't do during the walks?
So I would say it's easy to get into that mode where we are preaching things, but that meant you have to be sensitive to the place and time, because people will join your tree works for all kinds of reasons. It might just be what they want to do that morning. So I think it is very easy for all of us who are into nature to get into that mode where we are giving advice. And I think if we treat the whole thing with, from an empathetic view, and sort of read the audience well, I think that would be key, I think.
Yeah. Another thing that also happens, and I think a lot of times when we lead tree walks, we act like the teachers that we had experience with in school. So I definitely felt like I'm doing things that my teacher did to me, and I did not like them when they did it to me. So then it's best to remember those and not do them with your audiences. And I just had something to say, then I forgot that completely. Uh, yeah, something to not like outrightly say this is wrong and this is right. That also helps. And it just, even if somebody says something wrong, we say that "Yeah, that's an interesting perspective, like be a bit diplomatic about it. And then maybe try and share what is uh, like published or scientifically correct, or something that is no more applicable, for example. And especially people who are older, they love to share things like this is black and this is white and what I say is right. And that especially becomes tricky. So remembering that they come from their own perspective, etc., that can be, one way of saying that, okay, yeah, I hear what you say, but this is what is followed right now. So being very like accommodating, yet make sure to correct if something is like terribly wrong. And another thing that I also struggle a bit is sometimes somebody will ask a question to you that only you two have a conversation with. But if you think that the rest of the crowd will also find it useful, then you can just announce it, or you could ask the person to ask the question again in front of everyone and get their attention, and then answer it for everyone so that other people can also learn that. But many times it happens you're walking and somebody is very close to you and you end up having a discussion, and then other people might feel a bit left out because of that. And I've done that on many occasions, and I've realized that it's not the best thing to do. Or you might have to repeat information. And sometimes happens that people get very chatty and they start talking amongst themselves, and it's great because they're all talking about plants and they're exchanging information. But then sometimes it's very nice to be a complete teacher and say ये मच्छी बाजार बना रखा है तुम लोगों ने, like be a bit funny about it and say like please pay attention for a minute, and raise your voice and say please listen 1 minute, I have something to share, something like that. So please feel free to get attention again if you feel it's slipping away. And it's useful to do that because people have come here to listen to you, and you do have like a lot of things prepared to share with them. So if you feel like they're not listening, then be the teacher and then do like say something out loud and then get their attention. Especially with children, then I just like to say something, listen, or silence, like Dumbledore says in Harry Potter, something like that. So keep it light, keep it humorous, funny, keep it entertaining, engaging, and it feels like a stand-up comedy at some point sometimes to me. So like try to be as innovative in the way of sharing your information as possible. And yeah, another very important not to do is to be the only one talking for the whole stretch of the walk. So you can also, like we discussed, some questions to keep ready about the trees, about the phenomena that we come across at that location. You can also ask questions to people. You can open it once in a while, and if somebody starts sharing information to you, you can just give them the mic for some time, like figurative mic, or even little if you have one. And you can say they have something to share, and you can invite them to share things with everybody. And you can do it once in a while so that your voice also gets a bit of rest, and everybody also feels like they were heard and they got the spotlight. And everybody loves to be heard, right? To some extent. So yeah, so like to keep it interactive, keep it conversational, ask questions to audiences and hear their answers, and make sure everybody hears when somebody is speaking, something also to follow. uh, yeah, so lastly, the support. I mean, I understand that tree walks can be tough. I mean, even if we have a roadmap, it might not be very direct and easy for us to like go and do it right away. So I want to let you know that I'm available anytime you want a repeat of this session. It's uploaded. It'll be uploaded on YouTube soon, so you'll have like something to fall back on. But if you want another phone conversation or a small meeting later, please feel free to reach out. If you have some plants that you would like to identify, and we've talked about trees extensively, but it can also apply to plants. So if you want to look at herbs also, shrubs also, grasses, I'm not very good at identifying myself, but I can try and help you with the grass identification as much as possible. So please feel free to reach out for anything, and I would love to identify trees with you when you do a Reiki and you find some plants that you don't know. And of course, I'll share some resources ahead from where you can get more reliable plant ID help. Like I mentioned before, there are some resources. Like I mentioned that, but I will share some templates for the registration forms, for the feedback form, and for making your posters. So I'll put those links in the email that I will send to you after this session. For the publicity, I'm always ready. I'll be very happy to say this amazing person is doing a tree walk. So please share your posters with me, and I will be very happy to publicize them. If your walk is free of charge, if you're not charging for your tree walk, then we can put Season Watch logo on it, and it can be in collaboration with Season Watch if you would like that. If they're charged, however, we can just it's okay to not mention us at all, but you can just say that supported by Season Watch, something like that. But yeah, the logo, if you want it on your poster, then the tree walk has to be without any charge. That's our funders' mandate. But yeah, just reach out if you have any questions or any doubts regarding this, and we can always talk and clarify. And if you want an extra push to do this, I will be very happy to do that for you. And again, like I happen to be very lucky to have studied botany, but I assure you it's not needed. And everything that I know right now is not from the curriculum that I studied. So you don't need to have the technical information. You don't need to know everything about what you're going to encounter on your walk. It's completely okay to say, I don't know. We'll find out. I will share with you if I find out, or we can all look for it together. Things like that are completely fine. We're all human. It's not possible to know everything. So please, again, reiterating it for the millionth time, that please be kind to yourself. Please remember that you're also human, and you're doing this with the best interest at heart, and that makes any mistake forgivable. So please be very kind. Please be very patient with yourself, and yeah, do your best and have fun with the tree walks that you organize. And some resources that we have: Common Trees Pocket Guide, which has 35 trees with very beautiful illustrations. There are flowers, fruits, and leaves of the photo of the plant, so it becomes a very nice resource. And Suchi was sharing how she gives these out when she does tree walks. We also have them in Indian languages. And these are free giveaways for the educators. The English ones are for sale. So I'll share a link to ordering these also if you like. You can give them out just for the sorry. You can give them out just for the tree walk and gather them back also, or you can just give them away also. They're not very costly. Excuse me. But yeah, this is a very nice resource to begin and to have handy when you go out. And there, of course, a lot of books that you can refer to that are not very expensive, except for like Jungle Trees is a bit expensive, but it's a really beautiful resource to read up for yourself and to also recommend to other people to buy and keep in your collection. And there's, of course, websites like flowersofIndia.net, which has a lot of very reliable information on trees. So if you find a plant, if you know its name, you can just find it on this website and read up about it. It has information around its structure, how to identify it, where it comes from, what are the medicinal uses, and some other anecdotes also about the species. iNaturalist is a citizen science platform that I'm sure many of you might already know, but it's a very good tool to identify your plants. So if you have 2 3 good photos of your plant, you can just upload it, and it gives you the identification of that plant. Same goes with India Biodiversity portal. It also gives you information, local names, distribution, etc. And so these websites can be used very reliably to learn about your plants and to gather information and stories to tell during your walks. Lastly, we have the India Tree Walks network that I mentioned in the beginning. This is the link, and of course, pasted in the chat box also. But it's a very nice, moderately active community where there's some people from the group here, and this is a platform where you ask questions, share experiences, learn more about, promote your events. Anything that you need about trees can be, shared here and have your queries solved. So if you'd like to be a part of this, I'll share a link to the form soon. And I think that's all I had to share. Oh yeah, some of you asked about identifying trees, and although this doesn't give you very direct answers, this gives you a method of going towards identifying a plant by using some basic botany tools. So we're doing this on 22nd November, Saturday, and I have not had the time to prepare a registration form yet, but I'll email it personally to you if you would like to register and learn some basics with me. And yeah, so with that, I hope we have enough of. We have ran over time. I'm really sorry. But if you have some questions, we can take them now for the next 5 to 10 minutes.
There
Yeah.
were some questions in the chat. I think Vinay, Megha, and Shweta, I think, already had questions.
Okay. Let me just scroll up.
So Vinay, you had an interesting question about self-doubt. Do you want to repeat that maybe? You're muted.
Still can't hear you, Vinay. I'm so sorry.
I think he had some trouble with his mic, no? So I think his question was, how do you deal with self-doubt when you let people know that you're conducting a walk?
Yeah, I think it takes a bit of practice, and I have maybe not so healthy way of doing it. Is imagine I'm doing it for a friend. Imagine Sayee is a different person, and I'm telling people that Sayee is doing a tree walk. So I think that helps to um, like be your own cheerleader to some extent, and then just share you. But it takes a bit of practice, and the more tree walks you do, the more confident you feel, and then it becomes more and more easy to do it, and just do it like it's a job or it's just a step, and just send that poster out there. It's fine. And luckily it hasn't happened with me that nobody comes and questions who gave you the authority to do a tree walk. Nobody's going to ask you that. So so there's nothing to fear really. I hope these are some not so recommended. Perhaps my therapist wouldn't be very happy the way I'm talking about this, but I mean these are some methods that I've followed that might be of help.
Yeah, I would say I feel very new to the field, and I felt even more so when I did my first tree walk. So I spoke to the mentors I had in the field, like people from whom I had learned things, and they gave me the go ahead. I think I keep remembering that. Oh yes, this person said, I think you can. I think you can do it. So that does help. Like people you have learned from, or even people whose books you've read. You can reach out to them. I think Sayee telling us now that we don't need to be botanists to conduct tree walks is
Yeah.
something to remember and note. I think also understanding why you're doing it, because we are not teaching anything on the tree walk. It's a very different kind of experience. We are kind of showcasing something that we know a little bit about. So yeah, just remembering why you're doing this is, I think it will help.
Yeah, and also when I decided that it's not, I've just taken the initiative to bring us together, but we're going to learn things together. It's not like I have the responsibility to share everything. That also helps remove the pressure from just my head, and then creates it, makes it into an experience for all of us to have together. That also sort of helps me put things into perspective and make it easier for me. I
Yeah.
hope that helps, Vinay.
What I found useful was when I attended my first tree walk, was that the person who was conducting tree walk handed out sheets with in a tabular form, made on Excel, like the common name, the botanical name, the family name, and the origin. So you're not lost when the person attending the walk is not lost at that point of time. So that makes it facilitates the walk and makes it easier for both parties in that sense.
Yeah. Bageshwar, go ahead.
I had a question about logistics or location. Like, does anyone else also had to face this? That I've had participants who want to attend the tree walk, but it's in a location which is not accessible by public transport, or I'm based in Jalandhar and it has absolutely no public transport. And they ask me that, like, I don't know, they want to come to the tree walk, but there is no available transport availability, or how do they reach the location? And sometimes I would pick up the people or ask a friend, but does anyone else had a kind of solution to this, or what's their method?
I mean, if nobody else has anything to share.
I guess that you could ask the people to get together if they're staying in a particular vicinity to carpool, or use their own resources to get in, because if there's no public transport available, that's the only way to solve that.
Making a WhatsApp group might be easier to coordinate then. Like, I have not made WhatsApp groups before. Like,
Yeah,
that could be a better way to coordinate then.
yeah. So if you make a WhatsApp group, and you can do both actually, which I missed mentioning, that if you have registration, at the end of the form, you can give link to the WhatsApp group. So you have the information, plus people are automatically joining a group. And in that group, then you can mention that I'm coming from here. If anybody wants to join, you can. And then you can encourage other people also to do the same. And that's how you can, make sure that everybody reaches the venue.
It's quite unfortunate that there are not many trees in the city, so we have to go outside the city to look at the trees.
Yeah. I mean, talking about how cities treat their trees is whole another day-long conversation, I believe. I have scrolled long enough to see the questions. Mega had a question. As a beginner tree walk guide, if there are a lot of trees in the area that I'm planning to cover, though I plan to talk about only selected, do I need to know these basics and the idea of all the trees and plants in that area? Um, so it's good to know everything on your path. That's what I aim to do when I do a Reiki. I try to find out even about these ornamental plants that I'm not very fond of, because they're very difficult to identify. But there might be somebody who would ask, what is this? So it's best to, if possible, if you have the time and the brain space, to learn about everything that you are likely to encounter. But if it's not possible, then again, it's absolutely okay to say, I don't know at the moment, but we can take a picture, upload it on iNat or iNaturalist, and then find out together or something. So it's not necessary, but I would recommend doing that. Any other insights?
I just wanted to add that, I think it is hard to know everything, especially when you're starting out and you may not be from the field. But like Sayee says, what will happen is as people walk along the path, they will notice, fruits, they will pick up seed pods, and you may not always have planned to show that tree. So it is good to know. But I think just on my walk yesterday, somebody pointed to a tree that was across the road, and my eyesight is not very good these days, so I actually couldn't see what tree it was. So I just said, I don't know, but I'll find out and I will tell you about it. I think in general, for many of the questions, it's okay to say I don't know, and I've seen a lot of seniors also say it. It also builds trust in what you already have said, to admit that you don't know something. So I'd say, as far as possible, try to know, but it's okay to admit that, you don't also.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. Devjit, about the magnifying glass, I see that Gaurav has very nicely replied. And this is the one that I use. It has two lenses, this one with a bigger magnification here. So anything that you get in the stationery shop is good enough, because I think for me, if somebody has a magnifying glass and they give it to me on a walk, I get very happy, because it's something that we just love lenses, don't we, as human beings? And it just adds a very different perspective to everything that you're going to see. So even if you can't invest into a very good one right away, having a very basic one from your nearest stationery shop is also okay to begin with. And it works, it works. So whatever tools you use, I think they do make people feel special and they tell that you have prepared and thought about this. So I think
Yeah.
it's very encouraging for everyone to use these tools.
Yeah, another tool that I'm thinking of is to have the small postcards about the trees. So I
Hmm.
have tried taking the books as well as the website and all, but they seem to be a bit clumsy. But if we can have just one small 5 inch by 6 inch or something like that, small card about each tree, and
Yeah.
just give it to the participants when we see the tree, then that will be very handy. So, does anyone have any expertise, or can you like connect with others to give me some idea how to prepare those? Because it requires some idea about how to visually make things appealing.
Hmm. I mean, I feel very happy to announce that we are in the process of making some flashcards or postcards about trees, and we will try to make separate sets based on different states and the trees that are commonly found there. It'll take a bit of time. Maybe next year, early next year, we will bring them out. But there are some websites that allow you to make digital flashcards. I'll share that with you. I'll just make a note of that link as well, and I can send it to you, and that can be done. And Canva is a tool where you can design it very easily. So you can refer to any existing flashcards. Like there's one on birds made by Early Bird team. You can look at them and you can try to put together similar information about the trees around you. So I hope that helps. Oh.
There was one question about using Google Lens. I think Shweta had asked,
Mhm.
maybe Sai, whether Google Lens is a reliable way of identifying. I think it might be an important question to
Yeah.
discuss.
Yeah.
So
Googling,
Google,
including. Sorry, go ahead.
it's Google Lens and Google. Yeah, that's you were saying that, I think, no?
Right.
There are people Googling on the spot in walks.
Hmm.
Right. Uh,
Uh,
Can I
yes,
add something on this point? Okay. Gaurav here.
hi, Gaurav.
Uh,
So,
So
yeah,
I
sorry.
have seen people using this Google Lens or while on they take a photo and they upload it, and but it kinds of disturb your walk also sometimes when people are using their mobile very frequently.
Hmm.
And one more thing is, I mean, it is easier to carry a list or a handout or show them on tab, but the information is not very accurate, especially with Google, is unless that very much exact plant has been already documented in that area, say for a naturalist or PlantNet basically. But so you can give them some idea about what that plant is if you can, like say Bohinia. So you know that it's a Kanchan plant,
Hmm.
and telling that the local name or general information is fine enough rather than going too much about the species. And like even I can't distinguish between Variegata and Racemosa straight away. So and giving too much information can be difficult on a walk. So I
Yeah,
found it easier not to share too much. Just build that curiosity and move on from there. Take to next question.
yeah.
Thanks.
Sometimes if people find something useful, I just request them to share it with everyone, what they found, if at all it's reliable. Otherwise, you can just say that if they're using Google Lens to identify something, then we can give, like, share experience that it's not very, like, it gives you very broad options that may not even be found in our geographic area. So, I mean, some awareness about how Google Lens works and how it's not always reliable helps, and then guiding them towards using iNaturalist instead. Sorry, Mega, before I come to you, Arun, did you have anything else to add to this?
Hmm, nothing else. Sometimes the Googling works because they get the spellings and all that right. But Lens, I always say the same thing that you just said.
mm. So on because I've been doing more public walks, I guess, with bigger groups, we have started making like A4 size cards to show things, even to show a picture of a flower and with the name, with one common name and one local name. So I think that has cut down the amount of Googling people do on a walk, because they can all see what I'm talking about. They can read the text. But yeah, I think when people do Google and interrupt, I think, like Sai says, it's good to get them involved in the discussion and then explain why it might be a slightly different answer.
Yeah. Megha, please share what you would like to.
Yeah, I just have experience. So I have not done any tree walks myself yet, but I have been on many, and I've been a part of organizing some tree walks. So experience has been that people don't show up after registering. A lot of people drop off, especially if it's a morning walk. What are some ways to deal with that?
Would anyone with more experience like to share?
So I've been, I also do other workshops and events in Bangalore, and I realized that all events have dropouts. So one is people have done different things. Even if you don't want to take a payment, maybe you take a token that then goes for tea or coffee or something like that, because even taking a small payment really helps people show up. Of course, you want to do a completely free walk, I think just plan your numbers well. So plan for the percentage of dropouts. So in the local area walks, if I take 20 registrations, only 15 will come. At the weekend walks that I'm doing now, we have 30 people, and that means 25. So that is the rate of dropout. So just plan for that kind of dropout rate. And I think, like Sai said, having a WhatsApp group and being in touch with them will encourage people to sort of look forward to it and then turn up. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I mean, one thing that I still struggle with is to not take the dropouts very personally. I mean, I
Yeah,
feel
true.
very personally hurt that people they signed up but they didn't show up. I mean, it's very human to happen, and it's not your fault or it doesn't reflect anything
Correct.
on you if somebody cannot make it to your walk. So I guess that's also, I mean, it's not a best way to commercially look at it, but for personal reasons, I think this helps to remember this. And like Suji said, if your capacity is say 25 people, then you take about 30-35 registrations. So even if there are dropouts, still 25 people might show up for your walk. So yeah, that's also something that I follow. Uh,
Thanks.
is Arun still on the call? He asked about introductions at the beginning of the walk. Yeah, that's a very good
Mm. Mm.
thing, and something that I missed addressing in the do's and don'ts or in the process of doing a walk. So, for introduction, I take name and why they've come for a tree walk. And I also like to start with an activity where we stand in a place where there's a canopy all around you, and you ask people to look around and count the number of plants that you see or different forms of plants that you see around, and that gives them sort of a way of adjusting their eyes and attention to these different life forms around them or plant forms specifically around them. So it's good to have a bit of introduction. You can do it towards the end also, when you do a reflection and ask what they like, what would stay with them, what's one takeaway they have from the walk, etc. I'll message Arun separately about this. Sorry, I missed telling this sooner. Suchi, would you like to add to this?
I think whenever we had like bigger groups on my weekend walks, and we've not had time to do an introduction, we have received feedback that people would like to interact more, and we have taken that into account. So even if you are pressed for time, I think getting people to start with their name, maybe visit their first time to the park or the city, that helps put that into context, and you also get a reading of how many people are completely new to the area. So I think people do like talking. I think we have to acknowledge that people are coming to an event to interact with each other, and they have things they want to say. So I think it is good to have an introduction for sure. Yeah, and like Sai says, maybe at the end of it you can have something more informal where people have the opportunity to talk to each other as well.
Right. I think we've covered all the questions. I see that
Yes.
Suchi has addressed some of the questions, so we may not have to take them right now. Yeah, just lastly, I silly me forgot to add a slide about how to reach out to me, but I will share this here, which has all the contact information. And I handle the outreach for Season Watch, so you'll be literally reaching out to me if you message on any of these platforms. I'll also put my WhatsApp number in the chat box, along with the link to join the India Tree Walks Network. I'll also email this to you. Mm, yeah, this is the link to join the India Tree Walks Network if you would like. And yeah, with that, I think we can wrap up if there's nothing else for us to mention or address or add.
Yeah, I think we can probably keep discussing these things on the Tree Walks group.
Yes, please. On Rivers, you get participants who look at or discuss habitats around the trees. Ideally, a tree walk should be for an hour or slightly more. Yeah, thanks, Peeta, for this question. Sujit, would you like to take these?
Sure. So I think an hour is actually pretty short. So for me, I feel like 1.5 hours is like the absolute minimum to talk about at least a handful of trees and also to do the other things that we discussed, like which is to have a little bit of introduction, time waiting for people to gather. I think sometimes, depending on how long you want to wait, 10 minutes can go in that, giving directions to people. So I would say 1.5 hours for sure. Half an hour can be for everything else, and then 1 hour you can sort of keep around 5 to 10 minutes at every place, like at every stop. So you would need to do that. Habitats around the trees. I think. Do you mean like the context of the geology or the geography? Is that what you mean? Okay. Yeah. So we do, I think it is good to give some context of the place and the kind of vegetation that would have naturally existed once upon a time and how it is now, especially if you're in the city. Maybe Sai can add a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I like to share because cities do change the geography and the landscape significantly. So sometimes you might come across some wild plants and that give you an insight into what naturally grows there. So then you can maybe rely on these naturally occurring plants and then mention that this was maybe a dry deciduous habitat or around
Correct.
Bangalore especially, it's all scrubland ideally actually.
Yeah.
But now we have all these greenery and such big trees in the city itself. And you can also, if possible, look into how this landscape changed. There's a nice history to Bangalore, I think, how the city was built and made.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's very useful and it sort of gives an idea about how we overlook what naturally exists and we have our own agenda to what looks beautiful and how we push that on every kind of city and habitat that we want around us. So,
Correct.
yeah, it's a good concept to introduce and have a conversation around this as well. Yes. Yeah, like Gaurav also said that 1.5 hours is minimal if the participants get interested. I like to also do 2 hour walks. So I mentioned it's maybe 8 to 10, and sometimes it goes beyond time, like you saw with this very discussion as well. 3 hours gets a bit too much for me unless I remember to take breaks in between.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2 hours I think is a good time to start with.
It's a very good time. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Thanks for that, Gaurav. Thank you everyone for pitching in and sharing your experiences and asking questions. I had a lot of fun with this session, and of course, there are more ideas about how I can improve the presentation and the session. And I hope to stay in touch. I'll share all the links and details and the presentation and the recording with you through email. So please keep an eye on your inboxes. And yeah. I mean, that's all from my side. Suchi, would you like to say anything before we close?
Thank you so much. This whole webinar came about because I met Sayee in person for the first time a couple of months ago, and I was telling her that you'd like some advice on how to handle all these questions, and I get this question and I get this question. This is how I handle it. So yeah, I'm really glad to be along here with Sayee and help in any way I can. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Please stay in touch. I hope you've got my contact number in the chat box. If not, we're connected through email anyway. Please feel free to drop me an email anytime. And I'll be very happy to meet you again if you would like any more information or a push or motivation, anything from my side. Thanks for joining. Thanks for staying till 7:30. And I hope to see all of your tree walks very soon. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye. Good night.
Bye.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Sai. I work as a project coordinator with SeasonWatch. I'll give you a small introduction to SeasonWatch once we start the presentation, but I've been doing tree walks for about 6, 7 years now.